Welcome to GoatVsFish. We've got some new technology on GoatVsFish. Can you help us? Can you help us to determine if the new technology is helpful to GoatVsFish? We need the help of the goat and the fish in order to do this. We will now begin moving about. We hope you hear GoatVsFish. We hope it's clear that it's GoatVsFish. We hope there's a resounding sound of GoatVsFish. This is a critical versus. This is a critical versus. It sounds as though GoatVsFish is clear. It sounds clear to GoatVsFish, but you'll have to tell us once you get here. Welcome. One has joined the verses. The first has joined the verses of GoatVsFish. It's Weedpipe. Hello. Hello, you say to GoatVsFish. Weedpipe, can you hear GoatVsFish? Can you hear GoatVsFish? Can you hear GoatVsFish? Yes, you can. Are we clear? Are we clear, asks GoatVsFish. Are we clear, asks GoatVsFish. You should be hearing new sounds of GoatVsFish, new resounding sounds. The voice of GoatVsFish should sound ever more sonorous, ever more beautiful than it ever has before. Although we think, when it comes to these adjustments, we think that we could probably make some more. There's probably more adjustments we could make on GoatVsFish. GoatVsFish, GoatVsFish. Oh, that's more GoatVsFish. How about this? How about this? How clearly is GoatVsFish? We need to check to see when GoatVsFish is peaking. GoatVsFish, that's more GoatVsFish. This is slightly less GoatVsFish. GoatVsFish! That could be the verses. That could be the verses. This could be the verses of GoatVsFish. How does that sound to you? How does GoatVsFish sound to you now? We want to know if we can speak loud. We want to know if there's clipping in the voice of GoatVsFish, or if we simply sound clear and loud enough to you. If we need to turn up the verses. Hey there, Eventually Gold. Hey there. How do we sound to you? GoatVsFish is using new, expensive technology to come through to you in this live and living stream, and we want to know how we sound to you right now. We want to know how we sound to you. Should GoatVsFish be louder? Can GoatVsFish be clearer? Stopping to say go goat, celebration for goat, green tea, celebration for goat. Pretty dang good. You like the verses. You sound great. Ah, appreciation. Behold, the lavalier microphone of GoatVsFish. It's a phone stream. It's a vertical phone stream, and yet GoatVsFish is using all kinds of cool stuff. Let's have a look at that cool stuff. Look at this. Behold the tech amplification of GoatVsFish. Look at all this cool stuff. Look at all this cool stuff attached to GoatVsFish. All so we can make walking around and talking to you sound a little bit nicer. That's what GoatVsFish does for you. That's what GoatVsFish does for you. And that's what GoatVsFish does for you too. That's what GoatVsFish does for you. And for you. For you. And 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 for you. So yes, if you think GoatVsFish should be louder on account of compared to other streams you listen to, If Goat versus Fish starts peaking and making noise that you don't want to hear, then you tell Goat versus Fish. Then you tell Goat versus Fish. Meanwhile, Goat versus Fish, and you and I. Yes, I can be I, that is both distinct from Goat versus Fish and is also Goat versus Fish. And we can walk around like this. We can walk around like this. Everyone seems to love this. Volume is spot on. Appreciation, appreciation. Atroleet, celebration. It's so great to have you in the verses, Atroleet. Atroleet, we've been singing your praises and shouting you out because you are still a humble member of the congregation of the patron of Goat versus Fish. You are a patron of Goat versus Fish. And when we are publishing our videos and doing our live streams, we are still shouting you out and making it known that you are a patron of Goat versus Fish. You bring light and illumination to the verses to help other goat and fish to see, to help other goat and fish to see. You help us to see. And so does eventually gold. You just checked another stream and it was louder. The other stream was louder? Or Goat versus Fish was louder? Now you can see better. Yes, Goat versus Fish can. We can see so much better. Goat, Atroleet, Goat. Thank you for your support of Goat versus Fish. Everyone watching, please like the stream. And tell us if you are goat or if you are fish. Those of you who are new to the congregation, tell us if you are goat or if you are fish. The other stream was louder. Well, we can make Goat versus Fish louder. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make it louder for you. We're going to make it louder for you. Are you ready? Are you ready? We want to avoid peaking. We want to avoid peaking, but we're going to make it louder. Let's have a look. Increase amplification. Increase amplification in Goat versus Fish. Louder, 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 louder now. Louder now. A little bit louder now. How's that? How's that for louder? How does it sound to you now? Now do you like the sound of Goat versus Fish? Now can you hear more clearly Goat versus Fish? Does it sound fine to you? Does it sound fine to you? Goat versus Fish, Goat versus Fish, Goat versus Fish. Oh, this is a whole other versus. Oh my, oh. No, Goat versus Fish. Oh, there's a whole other, get Goat. There's a lot of settings in this verses. There's a lot of settings in this verses that make us sound ever so different. Now we might even sound different to you yet again, but now, how great do we sound now? Now how great do we sound? Now how great do we sound? Cabra contra pez, una otra vez? Maybe this is, who knows what that is? Maybe that's Goat versus Fish, Goat versus Fish. We don't like that. We don't like that versus. How about this versus of Goat versus Fish? That sounds like there's a lot more compression in Goat versus Fish. Maybe this is the versus. Maybe right in here. Maybe right about here. Right about. No, not that versus. No, not this versus. It's different now. Everything's different now. We think right here. We think right here's the versus. Although we feel like we can hear more of the sound of things moving around now. We'll try this. We'll try this. We'll try this. How's this? How's this, Goat and Fish? Everything sounds different now. Every verses sounds different now. Perfect at max. Oh, this is what it's going to be. You liked the verses that Goat vs. Fish said that we didn't like? Little background ambience before? Well, how about now? Well, how about now? There's so much we have to learn. There's so much we have to learn. There's so much we have to learn. Now you like the verses? If you like the verses now, then we'll keep it now. One's in the chat if you like it now. This is a test stream of Goat vs. Fish. You can't milk a fish, a classic versus, a classic versus. One's in the chat if you like it now. One's in the chat if you like it now. Welcome. Green tea with one. Hey everyone. Hey everyone just passing through. Yes, we're talking to you. Yes, we're talking to you. Are you goat or are you fish? You could keep scrolling and looking for something else. You could keep scrolling to your doom. But we assure you that's all that awaits. If you scroll away from Goat vs. Fish, you only invite your doom. The doom scroll must end now. The doom scroll must end now when you join Goat vs. Fish. The doom scroll must end now. Your doom ends now. Your doom ends now. Your doom ends now. Green tea says one. Atrolite says one. That's two that say they like the sound of Goat vs. Fish. You can take a goat fishing. You can take a fish goating. Thanks for the extra live. A little bored today. Ah, yes, yes. Let's be bored together. Let's be bored together. Hey, Weed Pipe. Let's be bored together. Let's be bored together. Goat vs. Fish almost ordered 150 versus American dollars worth of candles. We think the candles add a lot of intimacy to the stream. We would like to do a candle stream when it's darker, but we want to stream now, so now you get Goat vs. Fish. You can take a fish milking. You can take a fish milking. You can't milk a fish, but the fish doesn't mind when an attempt is made. Well, are you BBDH speaking for themselves? Wasn't there not a famous verses? Was there not the famous verses of Ben Stiller and someone else about milking a fish? Carrying the torch? You carried the torch of Goat vs. Fish. Can you help us? Hey you in the congregation, can you help? Can you help me carry this torch? Ah, the light of illumination, it is so heavy. It is so heavy to carry the light of illumination. It is so heavy. We wish to bring enlightenment to everyone in the universe. We wish to share them all, the true verses. We wish to share the wisdom of everything that we know here on the Goat vs. Fish show. But it's heavy. The light of illumination is heavy. Will you share in this burden? Goat vs. Fish asks you now, will you share in this burden with Goat vs. Fish? Also, it's fun to carry it like hanging out like this, but it's also heavier and we kind of don't like it, so we're going to change how we're holding it. We're going to hold it like this now. No fences, only walls. Nice walls. Walls are just another form of fence. You can call a wall all you like. It's still fence. It's still fence. Goat vs. Fish has asked you, you in the congregation, you watching now, will you carry this torch with Goat vs. Fish? Will you carry this illumination with Goat vs. Fish? Goat vs. Fish has found that when we burn this illumination and we're not walking around, it does not drip like so. But when we carry this illumination and we are walking around, oh, it drips, oh. Oh, it drips. Tell us about your boredom. Tell us about your boredom. A fence is made of boards. Don't be bored. Don't be bored. And what's going on? What's going on in the world today? What's going on in the world today? Is anything happening? Is anything happening in the world today? There's a lot going on there. There's a lot going on there. You don't even know. You don't even know what's going on over there. We were looking as we were setting up the congregation of who wanted to watch the live stream of Goat vs. Fish. As we were setting up there, oh, we saw multitudes of Goat vs. Fish. We saw multitudes of verses. Green Tea says the congregation shall light the flame in honor of Goat vs. Fish. We ask you not just to light the flame, but to carry it with Goat vs. Fish. Will you carry it with Goat vs. Fish? May the sacred Goat vs. Fish flame never be extinguished. Indeed. But will you carry it with Goat vs. Fish? Some of you carry the flame of Goat vs. Fish. Some of you maintain the flame of Goat vs. Fish. Some of you protect the flame of Goat vs. Fish. Some of you worship the flame of Goat vs. Fish. Some of you enter the comments and you're a troll and you attempt to flame Goat vs. Fish. Some of you fan the flames of Goat vs. Fish. Ah, it's sounding very windy now. That's something that's happening now. The simulation is getting fancy. You carry the flame in your heart? Wow, it must be pretty hot in there. Must be pretty hot in there. So how terrible did that wind sound? We want to know. On a scale of verses to fence, verses being the most verses and fence being the most fence, how terrible did that wind sound? Because we can hear it in our own sound, but we also hear the sound of our own voice, and sometimes it's difficult to tell just what the fence is going on, but just what the fence is going on. And we could make the monitor louder in the ears of Goat vs. Fish, but then we would be yelling at ourselves, and that wouldn't be very fun. Wasn't that bad, moderately fancy. Okay, that's nice to know, that's nice to know. Hopefully it can be rectamified, says Eventually Gold. Rectamified? And we can do this, Goat and Fish. Look at this. Big, extra big walking head of Goat vs. Fish. Why have a smaller walking head when you could have a bigger, more giant walking head? Everyone loves big head, don't you? Don't you love getting big head? Well, here we are. Here's the big head. Maybe you could place the mic inside the beard of Goat vs. Fish. Oh, we don't think so. We don't think we want to do that. What's the biggest your head has ever been? Has your head ever been this big? Has your head ever been this big? It's huge! Add a Q&A sticker. Try it. A fictional character you relate to the most? No, we just say... No, we're just going to do this. We're going to emoji, heart, and well, we'll give it to verses. There we are. That's all you need. Just a little reminder to like and subscribe to Goat vs. Fish. Just a little reminder to like and subscribe to Goat vs. Fish, although we don't really like how it covers the fish, but... Fish just has to deal with it now. Do the foam balls over the mic help with the wind? I don't know. It helps. It helps some. It helps some. As long as it was not obnoxious, then that's okay. As long as it was not obnoxious, then that's okay. Goat vs. Fish, just doing our salubriations today. Our preambulations. Goat vs. Fish has a big show at the Riff Raff. This Saturday is at the Comedy Store, and there's much rehearsal that must be done by Goat vs. Fish. Much practice still to be done by Goat vs. Fish. That practice is our verses. We must confront it. We must confront it. We must confront it. However, Goat vs. Fish also wants to go live to the congregation. That means you. That means you. And the hours have been racking up. The hours have been racking up on Goat vs. Fish, and we want to keep it going. We want to keep it going strong. Break a hoof, oh, we'll break a lot of hooves. We'll break a lot of hooves. Imagine goat and fish versus... Imagine goat and fish versus... We'll ask you now which one you are. It's question time. Imagine getting off the fence, off your behind, and versus together. In the sea goat versus nobody but fish until they die. When they versus, maybe the goat and the fish will unify. In the sea goat versus nobody but fish. Don't ask me why. When they versus, maybe the goat and the fish will unify. Imagine fish and goat and fish. No matter if you bleat or butt or splash or splish. The only one for fish is goat, and goat for fish. So versus together. I can't see goat versing nobody but fish until they die. When they verses, maybe the goat and the fish will unify. So verses together, they verses forever. You thought seahorse was fish? Seahorse is a fish. That's a scientological verses. That's a scientific verses. That a seahorse's classification as a fish. You may think it's a strange looking fish. You may think it's a strange behaving fish. You may think it has a fancy name. But a seahorse is totally a fish. Which is the strongest evidence we have that BoJack Horseman is a fish. We've not heard of a horse goat. We've heard of horoscope. We've not heard of a horse goat. Unless you're talking about a goat that is a little horse. What about a land horse? Well, if a seahorse is a fish, then a land horse would probably be goat. Unless it's just lost. Goat in a fish costume. This is an infiltration. This is something we have yet to really see on Goat vs. Fish on the living streams. But what if it was revealed that someone who you thought was goat all along was actually fish in disguise? There is catfish. There's a lot of fish. But we can tell you this. Look at this goat. A skeleton goat is here. And you may think that a goat is a fish in disguise, but when you strip them of all of their flesh, it seems pretty clear that a goat is a goat. That this goat is goat. It would be hard to deny that this goat is a goat after all these verses. And as far as this fish, it looks like a bonefish. Hard to convince us it's goat. What's the last syllable? What's the last syllable? Ooh. Ooh. Fish of hollow bones. And now look at this creature. We have this long-nosed fence creature. And its offspring. So here we have an old fence sitter, a babby fence sitter, showing us the life that is within the verses. New life. Parentage. The raising of the goat and fish. But then, where there's life, there's death. We have here too the bone of goat and the bone of fish. We have here Smisky sitting, wondering, pondering. We have the trolls. They'll eventually show up in the chat of Goat vs. Fish. Hey trolls, are you watching? Give us the best that you've got. We're waiting. We have Cheems. Cheems is just happy to be here. Cheems is just cheeming about. Enjoying Goat vs. Fish. So enjoying Goat vs. Fish. And here we have the Barbarian from Dungeon Soup. We frequent guest on Goat vs. Fish. In the sea, goat versus nobody but fish until they die. When they versus maybe the goat and the fish will unify. You had a great soup. You had a great soup of dungeon guy voice. I'm gonna get my last Chivo. I love Chiefs. Where is My Goat? By Terrence Southern. Is that like that one that's like a dude, where's my verses, or someone moved my verses? Someone moved my goat cheese? Did someone move your goat cheese? So now Goat vs. Fish, we can place this anywhere we wish, and the voice of Goat vs. Fish will still ring true. Will still ring true. We're going on a walk with you. Goat versus fish. While the fence still burns. Some say this was Wicca for Zoomers, lol. Is it Wicca for Zoomers or versus for boomers? Wicca for Zoomers versus witchcraft for boomers? Satanism for boomers? Witchcraft for millennials? Wicca for Zoomers? Skibbity for Gen Alpha? A fire stick? It's clinging. Even the slightest gust threatens to make it go bust. Naturally eat. So it's been another week of motivations. It's been another week of morning motivations. Tell us, how has been your motivations? Have you been feeling your motivations this week? Goat vs. Fish heard an interesting verses about 6-7. How do you feel? How do you feel about 6-7? Tell us your honest verses. When you hear 6-7, how does it make you feel? In a universe in which Goat vs. Fish struggles in competition for the attention of all the goat and fish, there's another false verses of 6 and 7 that claims the minds of the young and old alike. Some in love, some in hate, some in jest, and some sincere, some in curiosity and some in fear. And we can meme, and here in the chat of Goat vs. Fish, we can meme about 6-7 in the congregation, but we want you to ponder it. What do you really think about this phenomenon? It has been transformational, says Bud Morgan. Well, tell us about that. As you can see, the torch of Goat vs. Fish is transforming right before our very perception. LOL. That is an adequate response. It's almost 69. Ah, so close, but so fence. So verses, but so fence. This is a nice place for it to be. This is a very nice place for it to be. Greed and T says, I don't get 6-7. Do you get goat versus fish? Do you get goat versus fish? Hi, Hercules. What don't you get? And you, what don't you get? Is that a beeswax candle? It's none of your beeswax. Goat versus fish has substance. Ah. Tell us about the substance of goat versus fish. This is an interesting substance right here. This is a special effect. This is a non-artificial intelligence special effect being brought to you live by Goat versus Fish. One of these sticks, even one of these sticks, can cost as much as $5 American dollars. But this is all fuel for the verses. Now it is one candle, but soon there will be hundreds. Soon the spectacle of Goat versus Fish will grow 10 million fold. The more viewers we have of Goat versus Fish, the more subscribers we have of Goat versus Fish, the more likers we have of Goat versus Fish, the more the spectacle will grow. As it has grown already. Do not invest in Bitcoin. Goat versus Fish has yet to invest in Bitcoin. There are too many data centers. Too many data centers. And the data centers do not contain enough data about goat and fish. So it's a waste of verses. The energy spent burning this torch of Goat versus Fish. It is here for your illumination. It is here for your consideration. It is here for you to admire the beauty of the situation. It's not about compiling data, it's about observation of the beauty of the universe. Behold, everything you need to know about the beauty of the universe is right there before you now. For you now. How should one explain Goat versus Fish to a stranger? Hercules says, ask them if they are goat or fish. This is very wise. As is written. Who is Goat versus Fish? What is Goat versus Fish? Why is Goat versus Fish? There is only one question. Are you goat or are you fish? There is only one question. Are you goat or are you fish? So when one asks you to explain Goat versus Fish, you say, are you goat or fish? And tell them, don't sit on the fence, don't sit on the fence. "999 OCD LSD is missing again, missing." Do you have some kind of verses? Are you versing 999 LSD OCD? Are you one and the same? Are you in unification? Are you in unification? Pals, you say? Show. Can I have a goat legs and a shark body? It is very strange what sort of auto-modding YouTube is doing on Goat versus Fish. We think we need to change that. We think we need to change that. As a matter of verses, we're going to pin your message. Can I have a goat leg and on a shark body? You mean some sort of Frankenfence creature? You want to stitch together the corpses of this bone goat and this rotting fish corpse? Not on Goat versus Fish, not on Goat versus Fish. We're not going to perform such disgusting experiments on Goat versus Fish. Have respect for the verses. That's mad fence history. Also, I Can Fix Amber Heard is yet to join this versus. It's true. Maybe one of you should tell them. Maybe Goat versus Fish should tell them. But then Goat versus Fish would have to remove ourselves from the living stream, and we don't want to do that. But perhaps if one of you goes to the Discord, maybe you can give them information there. Send a notification. How? How? Ah. Perhaps we can. Perhaps Goat versus Fish can send a notification through the computation. So many ways to make communication. So many ways to make communication. So many ways to make communication. So many ways. For those of you who have not seen, have a look at the technology of Goat versus Fish. Here it is. Behold. Behold the technology of Goat versus Fish. It's all so we can sound just a little better to you. We know it's a critical versus how Goat versus Fish sounds in the living stream. And the less we sound like we're streaming for and with our phone, the more superior the versus. Looks like astronaut stuff. Well, it sort of is, in a way. We're moving through time and space. And we are trying to send our signal to you. We're trying to send a signal to you. And we want it to be clear. And the signal, the live stream, is being sent through space. Like some kind of astrolete. Atrolete has been here for at least 5 to 7 years. At least 6 years. Atrolete, 6 years of Goat versus Fish. For real? We think so. We think so. Goat versus Fish can scarcely believe it ourselves. The gang is all here plus new technology. We click upon it. We share the verses. We share the verses. Now that we have even more confidence walking around, plus new tech. We publish the verses. We'll see if we get more Goat and Fish now. It will be quite the test. It will be quite the test. And now Goat versus Fish, we can go to the living stream. Green Jellÿ sucks. Green Jellÿ does suck. But they don't suck as much as Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish sucks far more than Green Jellÿ. If green Jellÿ sucks, goat versus fish sucks a whole lot more. Goat versus Fish is going to brazenly put our tip link into the chat for the technology that you witness before you now. Cost Goat versus Fish. 125 versus American dollars. Gasp. We know you do a lot. We know you all do a lot for Goat versus Fish. You all contribution so much to Goat versus Fish. But we keep bringing you more. We want to keep bringing you more. We want to keep improving Goat versus Fish. Cole J Racing Fish. New tech support. We pin it. We pin it. We pin the verses. New tech support. New tech support. Looking now at the verses. Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish. Yes, this makes it sound. We don't like this versus. This sounds way too tinny. It sounds like a tin fence. Like, tin fence. Tin fence, tin fence. We don't like this. Goat and Fish. Is this versus or is this fence? Tell Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish. We hear what we hear. It sounds fence to Goat versus Fish, but we want to know from you how it sounds over there, how it sounds over there. How does this sound? Or does it all sound the same? Does it all sound the same? Does it all sound lame? Makes it sound like an old CB radio. Hi, welcome to Goat versus Fish. Atro says, I don't like this. So we have this versus. Now we can go all the way the other verses. All the way the other verses. Now we sound like this. Now Goat versus Fish sounds like this. Now Goat versus Fish sounds like this. How does this sound? We think this is a superior versus, but it sounds like the waters of the fish. They sound muddy. It sounds somewhat muddy to the goat and the fish. Does it sound muddy to you? It does not sound entirely unpleasant, but it sounds a bit muddy to Goat versus Fish. What do you say? What do you say? How does this sound to you? How does this sound to you? Roger that. Is this a superior versus compared to the last verses? There is more to be done. There's more to be done. We'll show you. We'll show you what more there is. Muddy, yes, says Antrelite. Muddy, yes. So that's that versus. But now Goat versus Fish. Somewhere between these two fence posts, there is a versus. There is a versus. Cole J Racing. If I have a fish versus guitar riff versus video clip, how should I send it out into the universe to reach the fence sitters like that? I can fix. I heard fence sitter guy. You could join the Discord of Goat versus Fish. Okay, we're going to try new verses. Goat versus Fish. Here we are. This sounds the most clear. It sounds less muddy. It sounds, this is goat versus fish, goat versus fish, goat versus fish. This sounds like right in the middle of the verses. Goat versus fish, goat versus fish. Tinified goat versus fish, goat versus fish, goat versus fish, goat versus fish. Goat versus fish, goat versus fish, goat versus fish. How about this verses? This sounds like a fine verses of Goat versus Fish. Do we like this verses? Do we like this versus? Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish. Perhaps this is the verses. Perhaps this is the verses of Goat versus Fish. Celebration, the superior verses. The most recent one, go back. Well, this is kind of where we are now. We can fence it around a little bit. We can fence it we could Goat versus Fish ways like this. We could Goat versus Fish ways like that. We could Goat versus Fish ways like here. Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish. Somewhere in here. I use the maximum velocity and volume, maximum verses. But we're close, but we're close. So we should give you a link to the Discord of Goat vs. Fish. The Discord of Goat vs. Fish. If you have not joined the Discord of Goat vs. Fish, that is a way where you can share your verses. We are posting into the linkage now, the Discord. There's a place you can share. There's a place you can share. There's a place you can join in congregation with the other goat and fish. So we can sing for you. We can sing for you a little verses we've been working on. We can sing for you a little verses we've been working on. Celebration, Cold J Racing, celebration. So this sounds the most verses. Is this audio setting the most verses that we've got? If you think it should be more tinny, then you can say tinify. If you think it should be more muddy, you can say mudify. Imagine goat and fish versus. It happens every day and night. They lick and bite. It's all about the goat and fish and how they fight. They versus together. I'm gonna ask you now, it's question time. Just choose yourself a goat or fish and say you're mine. Imagine getting off the fence of your behind and versing together. I can't see goat versing no blubby but fish. Don't ask me why. When they verses, maybe the goat and the fish will unify. Fish and goat and fish, no matter if they bleat and butt or blub and splish, the only one for fish is goat and goat for fish, so verses together. I can't see me versin' no blubby but you for all my life. When you verse me, fishy, the oceans are blue. We unify. Ba 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 ba. They verses together, they verses forever. Ba 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 ba. Discord link expires. It does. It has the Discord link expired. Is it an expired versus? We could make a new one. We could make a new one. More adjustments. We could make a new one. We could make a new versus. Yes. Yes, yes. We could make a new versus. We could make a new versus. We could make a new versus. Some of these sound different when they are loud and when they are soft, but this is about where we want to be. Heavy tuba. Cowbells and 1000 watt Marshall amps. Is a cow a goat or a fish? Okay, let's do some more mild maintenance on goat versus fish. Invitation, invite to server. Copy this versus. Invite friends to goat versus fish. Copy that versus. Link tree. Cow is near goat. Cow is near goat. Wow, you seem just so certain about that. And yet, like the cat, there's a cowfish. There's a cowfish. There's a cowfish. We've never heard of a cow goat. Welcome back. Log in to Linktree. Log in using goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. Linktree is like ancient verses now. There's probably something. A temporary 6-digit code has been sent to GoatVsFish. Oh, my verses. So much security on GoatVsFish. So much security on GoatVsFish. Bud Morgan, it's been very pleasant having you here. Ooh, that's one verses of a code. 006060. It's verse-tacular. That's a verse-tacular one. It's a verse-tacular one. Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish, yeah. Goat versus fish, yeah. Goat versus fish, nah. Goat versus fish, yeah. Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. Hey, free pizza! Goat versus fish. Congratulations, Goat versus Fish. You're now a member of Office Hours Live with Tim Heidecker. Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. So we see goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. Okay. Here we are. Design, brand deals, earnings, audience. Discord of Goat versus Fish. We want to edit the verses. We want to edit the verses. Themes, wallpaper, text, links. This is simple hydration. It is a simple hydration. YouTube, Instagram, website, TikTok, merch, Discord. We think it's okay. We think it's okay. We think we've set up the Discord for Goat versus Fish in all of its glorious 25 links that have ever been clicked. Move it up in the verses. TikTok has only been clicked once. Wow, really? The Discord link is the most clicked link in the whole verses. So we'll move the Discord up in the verses. The Instagram has but 3. The YouTube has 28. The Twitch has 17. Oh, this verses. So much management of Goat versus Fish. Okay. This is what you asked for. This is what you wanted. Someone said, hey, give me the Discord. Well, that's what we're trying to do. Redirect. Oh, my verses. Oh, Goat versus Fish. Repetition is fun and more thumbs, yes. Will there be a call-in special next week? There should be. We should have more call-ins. There should be a morning ceremony. What sort of ceremony? Don't we have a morning motivational? Isn't that sort of a morning ceremony? Isn't that sort of a morning ceremony? But you mean a rigid and well-defined ritual that is nearly exactly the same every verses? Kinda. Well, really, we want to do more Goat versus Fish. We post a new Discord link in the congregation there. We think that it should versus. We think it should versus. But someone can also check the link tree of Goat versus Fish, and you can tell us if the Discord link in the link tree of Goat versus Fish still versus. We think it should. But it's sort of being fence. It's all going to fence now. Do you be goat or a fish? Oh no, we don't want that. An image of goat versus fish, an animated versus, a schedule of goat versus fish, a lock of goat versus fish, insights on goat versus fish. It is strange that it's not showing the link. Maybe it's a secret type versus. So someone please give us the information. Does the Discord link in the link tree, does it versus? Does it versus or does it fence? Bring forth the sacrificial KFC bucket of morning chicken? Why are you trying to introduce fenciness into the mornings of goat versus fish? Why are you trying to introduce fenciness into goat versus fish mornings? So this is one versus, but let's try changing mid verses. Let's see what happens. Watch this. Okay, goat and fish, we're going to change mid verses. Can we change mid verses? We're going to find out. We're going to find out right now. We're going to find out right now. Oh no. Oh no, not that. Can you hear goat versus fish? Can you hear goat versus fish at all? That's the first thing we want to know. Has the microphone changed? Oh, wait, versus. Okay, how about now? Now can you hear? Can you hear goat versus fish now? Can you hear goat versus fish now? Now can you hear goat versus fish? Now can you hear goat versus fish? Has the mic automatically changed now? Now can you hear? Radioactive chicken heads, we don't deny it. Can you hear goat versus fish? Can you still hear goat versus fish? We must know. We must know if you can still hear goat versus fish. If you can still hear goat versus fish, please say we can still hear goat versus fish. Yeah. Okay. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Yes, but now it should sound very different, yes? But let's try this now. Let's try this. Let's try this versus. Testing new verses in goat versus fish. Testing new verses. Can you hear Goat vs. Fish? Are we coming through clear, Goat vs. Fish? Do you like the sound of this? We bet you do. We bet you like the sound of this a lot. We bet this sounds pretty great. Celebration. You could burn sage. That's something we could do. It's true. We could do it for you. We've been burning candles on Goat vs. Fish. You seem to like that. So how does this sound? Does this sound like a great verses? Does this sound like a beautiful verses? The only verses about this is that we can't hold the verses and carry about the phone and walk around with a candle all at the same verses. It gets too fancy. But we can. We can walk around like this. So do you like the sound of this? Do you like the sound of this? You like the sound of this verses? We can do some burning for you. We can do some burning for you. Oh, we suppose we could do this. This is about as verses as we could get. We could hold something here while talking like this. It's a bit of a limitation, but it's versatile. No sooner do we get the new microphone of Goat vs. Fish, but you say, "Hey, why don't you hold something else too?" We'll do it for you. We'll do it just for you. We'll do it just for you. Just for me and just for you. Morning motivations and celebrations. Morning motivations and celebrations of goat and fish and goat and fish. Morning motivations and celebrations of goat and fish. Celebrations and reconciliations of goat and of fish. A verse is for you and a verse is for you. For goat and fish, for goat and fish. To goat and fish, to goat and fish. We wish you the mightiest verses. 3 goat and fish, 3 goat and fish. It's one more than 2 goat and 2 fish. 4 goat and fish, 4 goat and 4 fish. The verses is 4 goat and 4 fish. 2 goat and 2 fish, 2 goat and 2 fish. The verses is 2 4 goat and fish. One hour later, you're going to say, "Burn the house down, Goat vs. Fish. Burn it all down." You're going to say, "Burn it. Burn it all down, Goat vs. Fish. We will not be satisfied until you burn it all down. Burn it. Burn it all down, Goat vs. Fish. Take a torch to the very universe." Goat vs. Fish. Goat vs. Fish is not here to ever ask you to do harm upon yourself or others. We've heard the verses. That would be fun. Goat vs. Fish. How about this for a versus? How about a Kool-Aid drinking stream? How about a stream where Goat vs. Fish, we go and we buy some Kool-Aid, And then we all drink Kool-Aid together. How about that? That would be cool. Goat versus Fish can aid you in being cool. And it's just totally harmless Kool-Aid that we just all drink together. And we do it on the live stream, and we call it drinking the Kool-Aid, and we all just have a big Kool-Aid party, and we drink the Kool-Aid together. How fun would that be? The joy of drinking, indeed. A clever verses. A clever verses. The ceremonial drinking of the Kool-Aid of Goat versus Fish. Drink responsibly. So how do we sound now? How does this sound? So this mic has the verses of being a beautiful golden mic that we carry around and makes us look cool. That's the verses. Does it sound better than the lavalier mic? That's the other verses. When you compare this verses of the golden mic to the verses of the lavalier mic, which one do you like? Which one do you like? Silence about the cowbell. Cool beans celebration, though I think the dude meant seaweed instead of sage. Ah, well, they could have meant that too. Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish has partaken of the grass of the land and the weed of the sea on the living streams before. It used to be a much more common occurrence. And we suspect it will happen again. Goat and Fish, we suspect it will happen again, perhaps on a 420 stream, Goat versus Fish. Perhaps on a 420 stream. Goat versus Fish used to partake of the grass of the land and the weed of the sea with far more frequency. But we just don't do it so much anymore. We don't do it so much anymore. Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish has health concerns. Seven-leaf clovers are mystical. Wow. We only need 2 leaves, a goat leaf and a fish leaf. Anything more than that is fence. 2-leaf clovers, the luckiest of all verses. No one has responded to Goat versus Fish, but you are used to a comparison of a goat and a fish. But we wanted to know how gold mic sounds compared to previous lavalier mic. All other verses being equal. Because it looks beautiful, it's a beautiful thing to behold, it's a beautiful thing to see. But we do have to carry it about, and carrying it about does require some verses, and it means that we can't be carrying about other things while we're carrying it about. But it does mean we can interview you like this. Congregation, tell us about your life. Your cheap earphones are not worthy of verses. You might be surprised, So you think it sounds great. That sounds great. It sounds great to Goat versus Fish. So we can do it both ways. We can do it this verses. We can do the wireless verses. We can do the wired verses. But the most critical verses is that we sound great. Goat versus Fish. We just want our living streams to sound great. And the greater is sounding the living streams, the more superior the verses. I'm 48, disabled and bored. Well then, Goat versus Fish is the perfect verses for you. Are you 48, disabled and bored? Enjoy Goat versus Fish on repetition forever. Golden Nike sounds pure. Nice verses. We also asked you all to confirm whether or not the new Discord link worked, and no one said nothing. It's as if that you are not obedient fence creatures for Goat versus Fish to command around. It's as if you are a goat or fish with wills of your own to do your own thing. We like that. We like that about you. We like that about you. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Goat only knows what I'd be without fish. Okay, Goat and Fish, it's time for a little test. We're going to test your loyalty to Goat vs. Fish. Goat vs. Fish is going to abandon the stream now. We're going to leave it live. We're going to leave it live. And we're going to see how many of you are still here when we get back. What do you think? Can we trust you? Can we trust you? Only time will tell. Only time will tell. And time will tell all. Time will tell all. Goat versus Fish shall return. We like what we see. Wait a versus. Wait a versus. Goat. That's not the fence. That's not the versus. Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. Versus fish. Goat. That's goat versus fish. That's the versus. Goat versus. Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. Goat. What's happening on goat? Are we getting double verses? Goat. We're getting double verses. What the fence is going on here? Why are we getting double verses? Why are we getting double verses on goat versus fish? We don't need two verses. We need one. We just need one verses of goat and fish. Goat versus fish. We are getting this versus seems clear to goat versus fish, but then we have this other versus. Goat. So okay, goat versus fish. Goat. Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. Comprehension. So this versus this is a whole other. We don't need this versus at all. That's just this amplification. We don't need this amplification. This amplification's totally fence. None of that. This is the only amplification we need on goat versus fish. Glorious verses. Now we have control over goat versus fish. Now we have the power. Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. This is goat versus fish. How's this? How's that now? Goat. Sounds fine. Sounds very fine. How's that now? Yes? Now we like it? Now we like the verses? We're learning. We're learning about the technology. And now it sounds even better. Now it sounds even greater. We've got it figured out now. Now it sounds really great. Now goat versus fish sounds the greatest of all. Yes? Are we peaking too much? Is it perfect verses? Is it a perfect verses? There was too much fencing going on. There was far too much fencing going on, but we've got it now. That is another way we can verses. We could verses like this. Now that we're here. Now there are so many ways. Now there are so many ways that we could play. We do have to remain somewhat close enough to the phone of goat versus fish. But we do have verses. For verses, we could be like this. We could do a living stream like this. We could do a living stream like this. Oh. This could be the verses. Welcome to Goat vs. Fish. Welcome to Goat vs. Fish. Now you can enjoy all manner of Goat vs. Fish. Goat vs. Fish from afar. Goat vs. Fish from afar. The burning verses and the Smisky and the Goat vs. Fish. You should make Goat vs. Fish coloring books and merch. There is merch of Goat vs. Fish. There could always be more merch of Goat vs. Fish, and there could also be coloring books of Goat vs. Fish. Yes, you love it. What's not to love about this? Isn't it great? Verse, we were experimentation with moving about, but now we can do this whole other verses. We could do this whole other verses like this. So much fascination. So much fascination. If you want to assist in a coloring book of Goat vs. Fish, then how about you? How about you do the illustration for the coloring book of Goat vs. Fish? How does that sound? Green Man is sad. Do you think Green Man is sad? What makes you say that? You think this is sad? This could be a face of wonder. This could be a face of wonder. It could be a face of. It could be a pleased. It could be a happy face. This is something that we have learned. About Yagi Vasuzusakana desu. Perhaps some of you have heard of a fence sitter named Hello Kitty. Have you? Very popular fence creature. Use AI. False verses. False verses. Goat versus Fish does not interested in artificial intelligence. Goat versus Fish is a verses that comes from within you. Goat versus Fish wants to know about you. Goat versus Fish wants to know what you are pondering. Goat versus Fish wants to know what sort of celebrations and creations you can bring to the congregation of Goat vs. Fish. If you want artificial intelligence, if you want artigotal intelligence, if you want artificial intelligence, you can go anywhere and find it. You can find it in any old fence. But if you want the raw verses, we like it raw here on Goat vs. Fish. We like it raw and messy on Goat vs. Fish. We want the authentic, the real verses. Sure, artificial intelligence might be the new and exciting fence that everyone wants a piece of. But Goat vs. Fish wants the Goat and Fish. We want you, Goat and Fish. Flaws and all. Imperfections, perfections, the whole verses. We want your creations and your ideas. We want it all to be part of a creation of Goat vs. Fish together in the congregation. Goat vs. Fish. We will not deny there have been some instances of artificial intelligence that has at least amused Goat vs. Fish. And we know that many of you stake your verses on it. And when someone says they don't like your artificial intelligence, you take it personally. You're like, oh, I take offense. Oh, you don't like my artificial intelligence. I take offense at that Goat vs. Fish. How dare you? I versed so hard on that artificial intelligence. Oh. But Goat vs. Fish takes offense to that verses. Goat vs. Fish takes offense to that verses. Goat vs. Fish takes offense to that verses because when you say this to Goat vs. Fish, so versed to be acknowledged, you say, yes, well, the fence sitter says, well, not everyone can be a goat or a fish, but through artificial intelligence, I too can be a goat or a fish, okay? Well, what happens when you become a goat or a fish and you engage in the verses? They say, I'm a poor fence sitter. I don't have the talent to be a goat or a fish, so I'm going to use artificial intelligence. And so they use the artificial intelligence in order to present as a goat or a fish would versus. And then they say, have a look at this. Have a look at this, goat versus fish. Look at my creation. And then goat versus fish says, it sucks. I don't like it. I don't like it very much at all. And then they say, how dare you, goat versus fish? How dare you say we don't like my verses? Listen, goat and fish, take it from goat versus fish. If you want to get out there and do a presentation, you may face rejection. That's part of the verses. If you want to be a goat and versus that fish, you want to be a fish and versus that goat, get into the verses of goat versus fish, then there will be those who tell you that they don't like what it is that you do, and you have to learn how to cope with that. You have to learn how to deal with that. If every time someone doesn't like your verses, you say, that's not fair. That's not fair. You just don't like it because it's an artificial intelligence and you're not being fair. Well, sometimes the verses isn't fair and sometimes they unfairly judge goat versus fish. And the goat judge the fish and the fish judge the goat. It's all part of the verses. And you may whine and complain all you wish, but guess what? Welcome to goat versus fish. Someone doesn't like your artificial intelligence creation? Well, welcome to goat versus fish. You wanted to be part of the verses. You wanted to use artificial intelligence to verses like a goat or a fish. Well, now you are, and now you're getting the verses. So you just have to deal with it now. Psycho Grandma 6, welcome. We're so pleased you're here. So now you just have to deal with the verses. But the second verse is that artificial intelligence takes all of the verses of the goat and fish and it sort of averages them out into sort of a middling fence representation. It does not really. Of course. You could say that all verses are a synthesization of goat and fish. We've heard that verses, and it's a fair verses. It's a fair verses. But artificial intelligence, oh my! It has no consideration. That's why you can look at so much artificial art and say, yes, I recognition that. Yes, it looks curvy and flat. I can tell. Many of us can still tell, and maybe you can say maybe there are times when we can't tell. Maybe that's true. But many times we can, and maybe it will change, Maybe it will change, but guess what? Goat versus fish. When the goat and the fish, when you put your mind and your blood and your sweat and your labors and your efforts and your frustrations and your elations into your creations, goat versus fish, we respect that verses. And even if we don't like it, we will respect your creation. We'll respect the verses that you took for the creation. But if you want to present artificial intelligence creations to goat versus fish, and you want goat versus fish to give you the same appreciation as if you had verses it by hoof or by fin, you're not going to win that verses. You're just not going to win that verses. Now, artificial intelligence, yes, it can be versatile for removing backgrounds and voice editing and verses like this and verses like this. And by all verses, you may use it however you wish. And see what happens and see what they have to say. But goat versus fish is goat versus fish. This is goat versus fish. The congregation is goat versus fish. And goat versus fish didn't come all this verses so that we could surrender goat versus fish to the artificial intelligence. Goat versus fish is here for you. Goat versus fish is here for the joy of goat versus fish. And that's why you're here for goat versus fish. To observe the unique creation that is goat versus fish. So bask in it. Bask in the verses. Bask in the verses of goat versus fish. That's just how you like it. So if we're going to make a coloring book of goat versus fish, could it be done using artificial intelligence? It could. But goat versus fish would be far more interested in drawings of goat and fish that were creation by goat and fish like you, or by goat versus fish. That would be a pride of Goat versus Fish. So if we want the Goat versus Fish coloring book, we will not be using artificial intelligence to make the Goat versus Fish coloring book. And it was written, and it was written. Weedpipe says, we're just joining the verses again now. Crazy how AI just bypassed royalties for artists it steals from, and it's just allowed. It's a mad versus. It's a mad versus. But they've been trying to screw Goat versus Fish out of compensation for millions of verses. That's nothing new. Use artificial intelligence to creation coloring book images to merch for donations. If you want to make a donation, how about we reverse the verses? How about you make a donation to Goat versus Fish, and then we use the donation to hire an artist to make a coloring book? How about that versus? How about that versus? You with Goat versus Fish? AI is only beginning. I feel over time, says Psychogramma, and we will see what damages and buildings can be done, and over time I imagine there will be future laws and things, etc., etc. Oh, my verses. Psychogramma. Oh, they're making laws about artificial intelligence, all right. They're making laws about it. They're making laws about how you can't make laws about it. They're saying, don't touch my fence. They're making laws. They're making laws about how you're not allowed to have laws about it. They say, don't. They say, hey, you, get off of my fence. Hey, you, get off of my fence. They say, oh, we're not sure what artificial intelligence will do. Just let us profit from it for 20 or 40 years, and then maybe you can tell us what to do about it. And in the mean verses, they are building giant data centers all over the verses. And this is versatile to Goat versus Fish. You may say Goat versus Fish. This sounds a bit political, Goat versus Fish, but there's one versus that Goat versus Fish we can say with great clarity. Goat versus Fish wants to protect the land of the goat and the sea of the fish. If we cannot protect the land of the goat and the sea of the fish, then where are the goat and fish going to versus? We need healthy, strong goat and fish. Protect the land, protect the sea, protect the verses which we breathe. If we don't have that, then how can the goat and fish versus? How can we have a healthy versus of goat versus fish? So this is critical verses. Who can deny this? Who can deny this basic verses? Goater of the land, fisher of the sea. We need strong and healthy verses for the goat and fish, like you and me. And these artificial data centers, they're just destroying the land of the goat and the sea of the fish. They are simply destroying the land of the goat and the sea of the fish. You think, if some may say goat versus fish, this. You're wasting precious verses, goat and fish. You're wasting precious verses, and your living streams. You're wasting the verses. Hypocrite, goat versus fish. Hypocrite, goat versus fish. You don't know half the verses. You don't know half the verses. Ooh, hi-fi protege. I'm goat still today. Celebration for goat. Lovely Mike. Appreciation. 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 I don't even know if I'm versing a real goat anymore, says Weedpipe. We know. It's like you're a fish. You just want to versus a goat. You're a fish. You want to versus a goat. And then you're like, is it even a real goat? What happened to my verses? We used to know if we were versing real goat or fish. But Goat versus Fish has confidence that all of you in the congregation, one's in the chat if you're a real goat or fish. Real goats and real fish can make coloring books. No respectable goat or fish needs AI. Now, all we can say is that you cannot spell goat versus fish without AI, because goat, G-O-A-T, and fish, there's I in fish. So we cannot deny that AI is part of Goat versus Fish. Because everything is part of Goat versus Fish. We must acknowledge that it's all part of Goat versus Fish. It's all part of this massive conversation and universe. So the artificial intelligence, it's part of Goat versus Fish, and yet it's apart from Goat versus Fish. There's a lot going on. Lamau, what do I put? Psycho Grandma 6. Getting fancier every verses. Bud Morgan, Goat Fish. Psycho Grandma 6, Psycho Grandma 6. It all started fancy for a versus. First you said, oh, unification, Goat Fish. Then you went Goat, and then you went Fish. And you became very important to Goat versus Fish. You became the VIP to Goat versus Fish, the VIP treatment to Goat versus Fish. You sponsored the congregation of Goat versus Fish. But you always had that fancy feeling. You tried being Goat. You tried being Fish. You tried being Goat. You tried being Fish. But really, you wanted to support the unification of the Goat and Fish. You would put half the verses on Goat and half the verses on Fish. It's fine verses. It's fine verses. Trying to bring balance to the Goat and Fish. But you have seen now in many verses, your efforts to create balance, can lead one to believe that you can just balance so perfectly on the fence. You're like, I can balance so perfectly on the fence. You think you're balancing perfectly, but then look at this. Not so perfect anymore, is it? Not so perfect anymore, is it? Look what's happening to the verses. You think you can balance perfectly on the fence, but we assure you it's not so simple. You think you can balance perfectly on the fence, but no. There's no balancing on that fence. There's no such thing as perfect balance on the fence. You're always leaning Goat or Fish, and the more you try to resist this, the more you try to resist this, the more fancy the verses become. We hope we can repurpose this. We hope we can remelt and repurpose this into new candles of Goat versus Fish. That'll be fun. That'll be fun for future verses. Candle making stream on Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish candle making stream. Goat versus Fish for all, eventually gold. Did you say artificial? I just caught that. Yes, listen to Goat versus Fish. We've been saying artificial intelligence this whole verses. We've been saying artificial intelligence this whole verses. You just caught that, yes. Goat versus Fish, super clever. It's like you're just hearing Goat versus Fish. You hear it. You hear Goat versus Fish. You hear Goat versus Fish, and it's like, wow, I didn't even hear that. I didn't even realize I heard that. You start hearing things you didn't realize that you heard. And you're like, wow, it made sense, the whole verses. It always made sense. It always made fence. Sense is for fence. Sense is for fence. Sense is for fence. Sense is for fence. I've been coming in back and forth this verses. Yes, eventually gold, yes. I will admit I have caused a fence hump in the congregation, but I have full faith, Goat and Fish alike will overcome the fence mess I've made, lol. Just like the fence sitter, leaving it up to the Goat and Fish to clean up your messes. You could end this all right now. I can fix Amber Heard if that's your real verses. You say you can fix Amber Heard. You can't even fix the fenciness that you've already started. You start this fenciness, you say, I bet the Goat and Fish can fix it. Maybe you can't fix Amber Heard. Maybe only Goat and Fish can. Have you ever pondered that? If you can't even fix this fenciness that you began without the help of all the Goat and Fish, then how would you expect to fix Amber Heard? Fanciest verses we ever heard. A dream of Goat versus Fish. Tell us about your dreams. Tell us about your dreams. Hi-Fi Protege says, I'm a Goat versus Fish. Celebration for Goat. Celebration for Goat. It's almost been 2 hours of live stream of Goat versus Fish. But we've been enjoying this new technology of Goat versus Fish. We have. We walk about, and then we get to be here with some relaxation, just make some conversation. And we get to hear our own delicious, glorious voice within using the microphone and the powers of Goat versus Fish. It's pretty great verses. Goat versus Fish. We think Goat versus Fish could do this for a living. But only if you keep giving to Goat versus Fish. Only if you keep giving to Goat versus Fish. Read pipe fish. The fence is by far more complicated than Emperor Heard. Well, that's at least you have this comprehension. Fence is fragile, sensitive for all goat and fish. Yes, the fence isn't really so strong once you... The fence, it likes to posture like it's oh so strong, but you can climb over it, you can knock it down, you can slip through it. Goat versus Fish charges each and every one of you now to tell someone you know about Goat versus Fish. We have a lovely congregation here. We have a lovely congregation. We have 5, sometimes as many as 10 viewing the YouTube streams of Goat versus Fish. And in the past, there has not even been so many. So we have achieved great verses, great gains here on Goat versus Fish. Great gains with your assistance. But we need more. We need a bigger congregation of Goat versus Fish. And as long as you keep bringing the goat and fish to Goat versus Fish, then Goat versus Fish will keep bringing Goat versus Fish to you. Why build a fence when you could build a fish? No commentation. Well, unless you want to build a goat, of course. Oh, I did it. My girlfriend. I make my employees watch you. My son. Ha 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 ha. Okay, employees. Your new job is to watch constant Goat versus Fish. Your salary depends on it. Everyone into the Goat versus Fish viewing chamber. You must spend at least 3 hours of verses watching Goat versus Fish. Then and only then can you get back to landscaping. Hydration. Hydration. Well, Goat and Fish, this has been a mighty versus, and it is with great appreciation. It is with great appreciation. But Goat versus Fish, Goat versus Fish has to practice for the riffraff. We have to make musications. Hi-Fi Protege in the verses. Give your love to Hi-Fi Protege. And we could living stream all verses. We could living stream all verses, but we have Goat and Fish to tend to. We have Goat and Fish to tend to. And we'll reach monetization soon enough. We will soon enough reach monetization. So appreciation from Goat versus Fish. Although we know now with your loyalty that we could just leave the living stream going and we could just leave it going forever and together we would just be enjoying Goat versus Fish and be great verses. We know we could just do it forever and you would keep watching Goat versus Fish and it would be a mighty verses. You ever thought about doing 24-hour live stream of Goat versus Fish episodes? That's an interesting versus. We have pondered it. Live stream, but we think there are TOS about that. We think there might be TOS about live streaming previous verses, and you have to say, is this a rebroadcast? And you have to say yes, and then it knows it doesn't count the verses the same way. They want new Goat and Fish. They want to incentivize new Goat versus Fish. But we could just broadcast the living stream in reverse and say it's a new versus. It's a totally new versus. It's the reverse versus. It's the reverse versus. Maybe we do Goat versus Fish speed run. We take 10 episodes of Goat versus Fish live streams, and then we render them all at 10 times speed. So you can speed run. Oh, you missed the last week of Goat versus Fish? Well, here's everything in 2 minutes. Ah, nice. Nice goat versus fish. Maybe a motivational in reverse. We could do a reverse motivational. You could call it a demotivational. You just watch in reverse. But who would watch it? Who would watch that Who would watch a reverse motivational? Who really would watch that whole verses and be like, wow? But it's a fun conception. It's a fun conception, and goat versus fish is everything, including a fun conception. Amber Wood. Well, Amber, we appreciate your dedication to watching goat versus fish. Dedication, appreciation. Dedication, appreciation. Dedication, appreciation. The Uncle Bo celebration. I would. Well, you already know. Your verses, should you choose to accept them, is to just keep watching more videos of goat versus fish. They keep coming out. They keep coming out. And it's a beautiful celebration. Hey, Uncle Bo. Glorious moments of verses. Seems like the Uncle Bo and Psycho Grandma 6 are having their own little conversation. 2 days. It's been fun. It's been fun. But we're going to say celebration to everyone. Celebration to everyone. Celebration to everyone. Yes, the Uncle Bo, we're going to see you. We're going to see you at the Riff Raff show. Yes, the Uncle Bo. Yes, the Uncle Bo is coming to the Riff Raff show. Have you purchased your ticket, the Uncle Bo? Have you purchased your ticket yet? Have you purchased your ticket yet? We must know. We must know. We must know. We must know if you've purchased your ticket yet. I'm going to tonight. That's what we like to hear. You'd best do it. You'd best do it. You're putting us through it. You're putting us through it, saving it to the last verses. Got to buy 2 of them, 1 for a friend. Celebration! 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 2 glorious tickets for goat versus fish. Celebration. 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 That is very awesome indeed. Very awesome indeed. Just remember, Psycho Grandma 6, when you are wondering, why hasn't my signed poster arrived yet? Just remember that the verses that your signed poster hasn't arrived yet is that instead of preparing your signed poster to be mailed to you right now, we're instead doing a living stream, which you also want from Goat versus Fish. So just remember that verses. Do we have comprehension? Do we have comprehension? It's a 2-hour drive. I leave work at 9:30. Ooh, that would be a very close versus. That will be a very close versus indeed. But we think it's versable. Thanks. Haha, I wasn't wondering. I had faith in you, but thanks. Nice communication. Well, Goat versus Fish is a small operation, but it's growing. It's Sunshine is part of the operation. Hi-Fi Protege is part of the operation. We've got 2 editors versing for Goat versus Fish. We're building Goat versus Fish together. And it's all for you, Weed Pipe. It's all for you, Psycho Grandma 6. It's all for you, the Uncle Bo. It's for those who believe in Goat versus Fish. If you wanted the artificial intelligence, if you wanted algorithmic slop that's already on top, you wouldn't be here with Goat versus Fish. Appreciation. Appreciation. Always and forever, Goat versus Fish. Always and forever, Goat versus Fish. We'll see you next verses. We'll see you on the next verses of Goat versus Fish. We will give you now 3 minutes of silence so we reach a 2-hour live living stream. Enjoy 3 minutes of silence with Goat versus Fish unless something else compels us to speak. The Uncle Bo has purchased a ticket. This calls for celebration. Before we went silent, there were 6 viewers, but now there are 7. How much are tickets? We believe they're perhaps 11 or so. 11 or so plus 2 drink minimum. That's Los Angeles. That's standing up comedy. That's the Comedy Store for Goat versus Fish. Do you like Smisky? Hi, Smisky. We like Smisky well enough. Kind of a fence sitter, but has a glowing personality. If a person is a goat or a fish. You collect Smisky. Well, do you have this versus? Do you have giant plush Smisky? Some look at goat versus fish like this and they say, wow, I'm horrified, I'm mortified. They look at goat versus fish like this and they say, ah, I'm angered. A grown goat versus fish shouldn't be playing with stuffies and wearing a stupid hat like that. That's what they say. Disgusts them. Fills them with revulsion. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's wrong with them? What's going on in their head? We thought Verse America was supposed to be free. We thought we were supposed to be free. Free to be goat versus fish. Once goat versus fish was performing at a local bar. And there was someone there, and there was an old one there, and there was an old head. We overheard them, and they said, speaking to someone else, and they said, I didn't watch my friends die in Korea, so this guy could walk around talking to stuffed animals. Actually, that's precisely what they did. And that's precisely why they did it. They've forgotten what they're versing for. They've forgotten what they're versing for, Smisky. They've forgotten what they're versing for. A ticket giveaway for a future show? It sounds like a fun versus, but it's really only versable if you can actually attend the show. If you can't attend the show, then it seems fine enough to purchase the tickets. But if there's not attendance, if they're unable to attend, then it's not as verseful as you might think. What time will you be on? Unknown. You've just got to get there, Uncle Bo. You've just got to get there. No fencing around. Are you considered a Chickenhead member, or are you a friend of them? Goat versus Fish, well, you would have to ask them. You would have to ask them that versus. Goat versus Fish is a member of Green Jellÿ. We do not believe that Goat versus Fish is a member of the Radioactive Chickenheads. After all, when they make promotional artwork for the Radioactive Chickenheads showing all of the members, it does not include Goat versus Fish. But the Radioactive Chickenheads are a collaborator with Goat versus Fish. It's a collaboration. We'll get those chickens to choose goat or fish. You just wait. But if you really just want to buy a bunch of tickets for Goat versus Fish, then just send a donation to Goat versus Fish. That would almost be more verseful. You just make more donations to Goat versus Fish. You say, here's 50 versus American dollars, Goat versus Fish. Now you go out and find someone in Los Angeles. But we'll tell you this, Goat and Fish, we'll tell you this. That the 10 versus American dollars that it costs someone to come to a show in Los Angeles, that's not the biggest fence. You may think, 10 versus American dollars, that's the biggest fence. No, there's a greater fence than cash. Time. That's the big fence. Oh, I already have something going on, Goat versus Fish. Oh, I'm tired from all my verses, Goat versus Fish. Oh, I have work, Goat versus Fish. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I can be there, Goat versus Fish. I have my own show, Goat versus Fish. Time is the biggest fence, which is why every verses that Goat versus Fish spends here with you on the living stream, you should be verseful to Goat versus Fish in the extreme that Goat versus Fish is spending this time with you, just as verseful that you are spending this time with Goat versus Fish, which is a great appreciation. So you could buy all the tickets in the universe, but really time is the verses. Time is the verses. You could be watching any YouTube video. Are you watching Goat versus Fish? You could be watching any living stream. Are you watching Goat versus Fish? You could be at any show. Are you watching Goat versus Fish? You could be asleep. Are you watching Goat versus Fish? How is parking down there? It will cost you anywhere from 10 to 20 versus American dollars. Or you can find street parking, and that's just up to you. But you're coming to the heart of Los Angeles. You're coming to the Strip. You're coming to the Strip, to the world-famous Comedy Store, Los Angeles. It's the big versus. That is not to say that if Goat vs. Fish could provide a free ticket, that would not be an incentive, but time is the real versus. Forever Goat! Ari the cat, welcome to Goat vs. Fish. How did you and the chicken heads meet? Interesting verses. Goat vs. Fish saw the Radioactive chicken heads at a Halloween show where they performed with Haunted Garage and People Mover and Max Sabbath. It was perhaps 9 or 10 years ago now. And we said, wow, that's great. And then many verses later, Goat vs. Fish. Goat vs. Fish, we were at Willytown. We were at Willytown Fest. And they have a giant chicken as in their verses. And so Goat vs. Fish made an Instagram post where we had Sergeant Cyclops and the Willytown chicken, and they were making a horrible, destructive war, not at all like the goat and the fish. And we tagged both of them as sort of a impromptu, hey, check this out. And they responded with love to Goat vs. Fish. And so then we started sending messages of flirtation to Carrot Top, and then they were always responding to Goat vs. Fish, and they followed Goat vs. Fish, and they seemed fond of the verses of Goat vs. Fish because they are just so pleasant and interested in collaboration. And then one versus Goat vs. Fish had been performing musications at Willytown Fest, and we had this whole Goat vs. Fish going on, and we thought, you know what? Many eons ago, those radioactive chicken heads were on a big stage, and it seemed oh so far away to Goat vs. Fish. But now, Goat vs. Fish has been on that stage before. We should make communications with the chicken heads. And so Goat vs. Fish, we reached out and we pulled off on the side of the road somewhere in Indiana in a cornfield. And we had a conversation with Carrot Top. And since then, we have had many, many verseful collaborations. We would like to verses with them again sometime soon. We would be very pleased. Always pleased. We would always be pleased to open for the chicken heads. We're thinking of having Bird Brain on the Goat vs. Fish Morning Motivational. Bird Brain has expressed interest in being on the Goat vs. Fish Morning Motivations. So we may get some chicken heads in the studio of Goat vs. Fish. Wouldn't that be a fun versus? Tickets for attendance-ship. It's versatile. It's versatile about it would Goat versus Fish. We would have to simply go about and say there are many who, if they could attend and wish to attend, they would say, oh, please, Goat versus Fish. You don't have to buy the ticket for Goat versus Fish. We want to support you. And they do that. They want to support the whole versus. Now, if the tickets were 50 versus American dollars, that'd be another versus. But if the tickets are 10 versus American dollars, it is a small temptation. But again, time is the biggest fence. But we do appreciation, Psycho Grandma 6, for all of your fenciness. You make extreme contributions to Goat versus Fish. And we are certain we will find many ways that you can support Goat versus Fish in future verses. Bro, Max Sabbath is funny AF. Goat vs. Fish met a former bassist for Max Sabbath. Or maybe they were a guitarist. They saw Goat vs. Fish performing somewhere, and they said, wow, Goat vs. Fish should open for Max Sabbath. And we said, yes, we should. We want to get Sunshine. We want to get Sunshine together with Goat vs. Fish and more. We need to form the Goat vs. Fish band. We need to have the Goat vs. Fish band. There's a lot of verses to be done. There's infinite verses. But as long as we keep bringing you the morning motivational, we have found we're getting more verses done. The more morning motivationals we are getting done, the more we are finding that Goat versus Fish is growing. And everyone is saying, I want a piece of Goat versus Fish. I want to get involved in Goat versus Fish. So the morning motivation, it's bringing more Goat and Fish together with Goat versus Fish. They see that there's something going on. They want part of the verses. They say, bring me in on Goat versus Fish. And we are saying, yes. So Goat versus Fish, the glorious leader Goat versus Fish. We must manage all the Goat and Fish to believe in the vision of Goat versus Fish and make sure all their verses are respected. Because, there have been fence sitters in the past. We've had fancy verses in the past where they've tried to collaboration with Goat versus Fish, and then they want creative control over Goat versus Fish, and they try to take it all from Goat versus Fish. We can't have that. Can't have that, can we, Smisky? We can't let them take it from Goat versus Fish. Celebration, we're growing. Indeed. Sans hasn't collabed yet publicly. We have, yes, we have. We have had a collaboration. We Goat versus Fish and Sans. We have had public collaboration, and we may show you some evidence of that soon. Sans is editing together some Versmiss, some Goat versus Fish Versmiss performance where we did a collaboration, so maybe you'll see that coming soon. I agree, truly believe in you. Appreciation eventually, Gold, and thank you for your patronage of Goat versus Fish. It means the verses. Everyone should become a patron of Goat versus Fish. Sunshine also needs to work on their Twitch. Been wanting to do, lol. Busy, though. Yes, but Sans has been working on their Twitch. We were just helping them set up their own Streamlabs link, and they've grown it. They have done very much. There are many who have wanted for many millions of years to reach affiliation on Twitch, and they've never done it. They've never put in the verses. But Goat versus Fish has shown Sunshine the way, and they have done great verses. They've done great verses. As we say, there's always more to do. There's always another verses. There's always another live stream of Goat versus Fish. There's always more to be done in the temple of Goat versus Fish. There's always the coloring book of Goat versus Fish. There's infinite Goat versus Fish. But that is why we must cherish our verses we have together here live now. Because no matter how grand and massive gets Goat versus Fish, no matter how many little projections and stickers of Goat versus Fish there are, this conversation, this will always be Goat versus Fish. Goat and Fish, conversation, sharing the verses together, sharing a moment in Goat versus Fish. It's a perfect verses. It's a perfect verses. I like it when Sunshine gets $50 from Goat versus Fish. It's been known to happen. It's been known to happen. It may even happen again. Whiskey A Go Go live versus A Beat on the Brat needs to be reposted. We could repost it, but it's there. It's there for you to find. It's there. It's on the interwebiverse. It's there on the YouTube of Goat versus Fish. You can watch it any verses you wish. It never left. Did you not know that it's there for you to see whenever you wish? A band performance. Yes, we want someone on the fish sticks. We want drum, bass, guitar, sticks, Goat versus Fish. We play all the hit verses, and it's all Goat versus Fish. It's great. It's a great celebration. And we ask everyone if they are goat or fish. And remember, Deep Fat Fried. Goat versus Fish has been doing collaboration with Deep Fat Fried. TJ Kirk, the Amazing Atheist. Paul Zigo. Scotty Kirk. Goat versus Fish, Master of Celebrations, MC of Deep Fat Fried. That was a big versus for Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish has made observations of Deep Fat Fried from afar for many, many millennia. But now, Goat versus Fish, MC Deep Fat Fried. It's like a professional versus over here. It's like Goat versus Fish is the real versus. Many would be new to it, is what I'm saying. So you were saying just repost the whole verses again? Just the same verses? We just repost the same verses? Even though it's already there, we just repost the verses? We take down the verses, we repost the verses? I suppose it could be done. A long YouTube verses of just continuous Goat versus Fish videos, if not a 24-hour stream to passively listen to. That could be fun. We have pondered this. We have pondered perhaps a Goat versus Fish website. We do have GoatVsFish.com, but we have pondered, we should just have a Goat versus Fish televerses that's just constantly playing just endless Goat versus Fish for your consumption. Any green Jellÿ stuff in the future? Of course there's green Jellÿ stuff in the future. Goat versus Fish must travel and do green Jellÿ entirely at our own expense. They do not pay Goat versus Fish, but that's just the way. That's just the green Jellÿ way. You can goat it or fish it. It's up to you. And so when it's convenient and verseful for the profit of Goat versus Fish, we do it, and otherwise we wait for them to come to Goat versus Fish. But we are always pleased to do it. In my verse, Americans weren't so short at the moment. I would have liked very much Amber Heard's tip and give 2 sunshines, though Goat versus Fish compensates. Sunshine's got very talented verses. We accept this. We accept this. Lamau, just keep reposting the same verses, but add a new minute of the reposted verses for each repost. But we can't remove the old verses. But you can just watch the old verses. Every verses that you watch the old verses counts towards watch time for Goat versus Fish. So just keep watching more Goat versus Fish. You don't need the new minute of Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish has been releasing new verses on Goat versus Fish. We have had editors. We've had editors. Crafty Andy has been making new verses. Have we not seen? Smisky, have we not seen that the I Just Want to Kiss My Fish TPUSA verses has like 700, 600, 700 views on Goat versus Fish? It's big verses for Goat versus Fish. This is a triumph, but they always want more. They always want more. They always want more. And we're here to give it to you. But don't think we don't know. Don't think we don't know. We want what we want, Goat versus Fish. Hey, J. Rock Magoo, if they don't pay Goat versus Fish, if they don't pay Goat or Fish, are they paying the fence? Is the fence holding all the verses? Yes. But Goat versus Fish, we're not talking fence here about green Jellÿ. We're just saying that that's how it is. That's just how it is. Goat versus Fish isn't paying the fence. Last we checked, the fence is paying Goat versus Fish. Isn't that versus I Can Fix Amber Heard? Goat versus Fish being paid by Big Fence. What are you going to do about it? Better pay Goat versus Fish than some fence sitter out there who's not going to put it towards Goat versus Fish. My verses? I didn't sign the NDA. Well, neither did Goat versus Fish. We would never ask you to sign an NDA. We want a DA. We want a disclosure agreement where you disclose if you're goat or fish. But we could take a verses like this. We could take a vertical verses like this, and we could give it to an editor and say, take this 2-hour vertical verses and condense it into like 1/3 of the size, so it's only the best verses, and then make that a verses. But this simply requires more editing labor of Goat versus Fish. So if one of you wants to do editing for Goat versus Fish, by all verses, make communication with Goat versus Fish. We'll see what we can do. J. Rock Magoo. Only sign the GVF, not the NDA. NAD. Goat versus Fish has always had to field accusations of being bought by Big Fence. They're always accusing Goat versus Fish. Always accusing Goat versus Fish. This living stream has gone on And on and on and on, and appreciation and appreciation and appreciation. So we'll see you on the next verses. What about Radioactive Chicken Heads? Any projects? We're thinking of having some Radioactive Chicken Heads on the Goat vs. Fish Morning Motivational. Beyond that, why don't you contact the Radioactive Chicken Heads and demand more Goat vs. Fish? How about that? How about you tell the Chicken Heads that you want more verses? How about that? That's one thing that some of you fans of Goat vs. Fish, you are not yet to comprehend when you say, are you going to do any more verses? Going to do any more verses with the Chicken Heads? Going to do any more verses with Green Jellÿ? You going to do any more verses with this or that? You send them a message and you say, I like when you versed with Goat vs. Fish. Bring back more Goat vs. Fish. Book Goat vs. Fish. That's what you say. That's how you get more Radioactive Chicken Heads with Goat vs. Fish, is you complain loudly and aggressively to the Radioactive Chicken Heads that you want more Goat vs. Fish. It's a simple verses. And yes, Goat vs. Fish was on Creeping Onions, it's true. Demand respectfully. But demand indeed. That's how we get it done. Okay, Goat and Fish. I lost Bill's number. Well, Goat vs. Fish socks, maybe? It can be done. We do need to make a new merch store, print on demand. Print on demand Goat vs. Fish, so we can have every single product available. It's a difficult versus, Goat and Fish. We're preparing for shows. We're doing the morning motivations. We're trying to get 3,000 watch hours. These verses that we're spending speaking to you, it's a beautiful, glorious celebration. But if we wanted to be preparing the online store to have socks, that's something that Goat vs. Fish would either have to be doing now, or we would have to be telling or hiring someone else to do it for Goat vs. Fish. Or you would have to be doing it. So it's flattering to Goat vs. Fish that you simultaneously want Goat vs. Fish to be here speaking with you, but also making socks. Thankfully, everything is Goat vs. Fish, and we're in everywhere and in all places at all times, so it's going to be just fine. Goat vs. Fish, you have many merch ideas. Goat vs. Fish has infinite merch ideas. All you do is you take something and you put Goat vs. Fish on it. There's your merch. Name a product. Put Goat vs. Fish on it. It's merch. One of the socks has a goat on it. One of the socks has a fish. It's merch. J. Rock Magoo is just being defenseless, that's all. Goat vs. Fish shower curtain. It's a shower curtain that says Goat vs. Fish. It's merch. Goat vs. Fish contraception. It's merch. Goat vs. Fish booty shorts that say don't sit on the fence. Merch. Goat vs. Fish reversible plushie. It's merch. A plushie of Goat vs. Fish. It's merch. And you pull the string on it. We want a string pulling type plushie where you pull the string and it goes. Are you goat or are you fish? Don't sit on the fence. Celebration! Goat vs. Fish jumper cables. The goat side and the fish side. That's the verses again. A Goat vs. Fish transformer that transforms from a goat into a fish, or it's like a fence. It's like a fence that transforms into Goat vs. Fish. Oh, my verses. But then the goat and the fish can come together to make a unification. And it's like goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. That mighty person, goat versus fish. It is a deep subject, yes. Goat versus fish brand, goat butter. We could do, Goat versus Fish has thought of doing a versus like Goat versus Fish brand nothing, where it's just an empty can that's branded like Goat versus Fish, but there's nothing in it. But it's beautifully branded like Goat versus Fish. So we don't have to go through all the trouble of actually providing anything, and it's just Goat versus Fish the soda. But we don't actually have to make any soda. It just looks like Goat versus Fish the soda, and you can buy it and be like, look, it's my Goat versus Fish soda. I can't believe it's not fish. And it's a goat. And it says, I can't believe it's not fish, and it's obviously goat. A painting of a Magritte, but instead of this is not a pipe, it's a fence, and it says this is not a fence. Goat soda. Fish soda. Goat and fish brand weed. We have goat grass and seaweed, and then we have fence hash, and then we have the unification strand. And you smoke it, and you see which one gets you higher on the fence. Goat versus Fish restaurant. 2-item menus. There's goat and fish. Goat and fish tacos. Goat versus Fish pet rock. Oh, Goat versus Fish. We're here by our own volition. We don't blame you. We don't blame you, Goat and Fish, except only for fun. The hours need to get done. The hours need to get done. And if we're going to avoid practicing our musications, then we might as well be spending time earning YouTube watch hours. I'd buy Goat versus Fish towel, and you do flatter Goat versus Fish with your continued viewing of Goat versus Fish. You do flatter Goat versus Fish. You really do. Who here is new? Who here is new to Goat versus Fish? Go on. We see the new likes. We see the new viewers. Who here? Don't be shy. Don't be shy. You can try. You can say hi. Goat versus Fish trading cards. Me. Yes, we know. Someone once made an artificial intelligence Goat versus Fish trading card. It did not please Goat versus Fish. And then we have to break their little fence yards. Like, look what I made! Look what I made of you! And we can put it in a pack and we can sell it. Ugh. Silence! I still have your card. What card would that be? Lysergic Fish. Celebration for fish. Lysergic Fish, check out the new technology of Goat versus Fish. Oh, yeah. New streaming technology for amplification sound and more beautiful sounding phone streams. Goat versus Fish isn't sitting on the fence. What kind of versus is that? Crispy, yes. And we can also plug a guitar into it. We can have guitar amplification in the verses. We could actually practice the guitar with you now, but we don't want to. We'll do that later. Not sure if I can send link. No need to send a link now. Links are for friends. Isn't that versus Misky? Isn't that versus? I bet many here have not seen the Creeping Onions vid. Perhaps it's true. You can search for Creeping Onions on YouTube. Creeping Onions Radioactive Chicken Heads and find a Goat versus Fish cameo. Send link. Okay. Okay, Goat versus Fish will send the verses. Make Goat versus Fish have to do verses and promotion our own verses to you. Sure, make Goat versus Fish do the verses. A pic of the card. Well, yes, we do send the cards. We can make merch of Goat versus Fish. We can do all these verses, but the most critical verses is that we keep bringing you morning motivations and that we keep doing collaborations. So many verses to be done. So many verses to be done. What card? Oh, you'll be getting a card soon enough. Along with other stuff. Goat versus fish, pondering now the verses. This payphone does not have Google. It's Troogle. It's Troogle. Here we are. Here comes goat versus fish. So that was goat versus fish on the creeping onions. So why don't you, we'll send you the link now, and then you can go into the commentation and be like, wow, I love that goat versus fish cameo. As a matter of verses, goat versus fish has a commentation right here. Creeping onions make you cry. Creeping onions will tell you why. They sneak and they hide with a terrible stench. Never will say if they're goat or fish. Get goat versus fish. That SAG card. Do you have any connections? Tell us your connection. Many will not search nor Google. Well, at least you found goat versus fish. At least you found goat versus fish. The Creeping Onions link has been linked. And now we will also share with you goat versus fish. Goat versus fish, beat on the brat. A goat versus fish, green jelly. And Radioactive Chicken Heads collaboration. Well, that's fun. Guess you'll just have to watch the rest of it on your own. We'll send you the link. That's freaking awesome. Yes. Were you unaware that goat versus fish is freaking awesome? Don't think you were. Don't think you were unaware. Okay, goat and fish. It's almost been 3 hours of verses. We appreciation. If you wish to leave a tip for goat versus fish to support the new tech that you are currently enjoying, you can do so. But you don't have to do that. All you really have to do is become a Patreon member of Goat versus Fish. Consider upgrading from 5 to 10 verse American dollars a month. Or just become a new patron of Goat vs. Fish to support a living versus like this. And that's all the promotion we're going to do for you now. We'll see you somehow. But since you're so fond of links, we'll send the Patreon link to you. Remember, with inflation, $5 American dollars a month is costing you less and less every versus. Could you imagine becoming a $5 a month patron of Goat vs. Fish 10 years ago? Now it's practically free to versus. You can't afford not to patronize Goat vs. Fish. Okay, Goat and Fish. Celebration. Stay versus out there. Watch out for that fence, okay? Celebration. Celebration for conversation. Celebration. Bye. 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 Okay, here's your live stream now.